What up, YouTube? Welcome back to a new video. If this is your first time here on the channel, thanks so much for stopping by. Definitely check out some of my other videos. And if you like what you see, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. A few days have passed since the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And right after that Direct last week, I did sit down and I recorded my thoughts. Now, I had some technical difficulties with the sound, but it seemed to have all worked out because Nintendo put more information out there right after the Direct. And I've also had some time to think about how I feel about what was shown. So I figured I'd sit down and chit chat. I'm not going to hold y'all for too long, I promise. But I do want to let you know what I love and what I hate about what we know about the Nintendo Switch 2. Let's get into it. Let's start off with what I love, all right? All the information that came out so far about the Nintendo Switch 2, this is what piques my interest. This is what has me excited. This is what I feel like, I'm going to vibe with. First off, as someone that plays primarily in handheld mode, okay, I will say that the screen size of the Switch 2 screen, awesome. The Switch 2 screen is 7.9 inches compared to what I have right now, the OLED, which is 6.2. So that's great. Bigger screen, count me in. I would have loved for the screen to be OLED. That's most likely going to come somewhere down the line, right? But it is an LCD screen and it does support HDR. I'm for that. Last thing about the screen here in handheld mode, 1080p, that's awesome. I'm excited for that. And then it does have the potential when you dock it to do 4K, depending on the game, I presume. And 4K, 60 frames per second. The audio in the Switch 2 is supposed to be better than what we have right now, which is great. I don't really like the speakers all that much. They did also touch on like 3D audio, which I'm always for. Big thing here, backwards compatibility. I mean, we kind of already knew about this. I think some of us were a little concerned because we weren't necessarily sure how many games will be backwards compatible, but it looks like majority of Switch games are going to be able to be played on the Switch 2. I'm excited for the Joy-Con, hopefully there's a better grip on it, but they are bigger, look like they're going to be better. They're magnetic, which we knew, bigger joysticks, and just hopefully they're way more comfortable to use than, the Joy-Con that we have now. The mouse capabilities in the Joy-Con have me super interested. Like, I really want to know how this works, especially as someone that plays primarily in handheld. I know that I'm going to have to dock the system in order to make use of that mouse functionality. But I feel like, if it's done right, it could be pretty awesome. There's more storage, 256 gigs compared to what we get right now off of, just the stock model of the Switch is 32 gigabytes, faster loading times, which is always something that I'll appreciate. I also do want to mention the device itself. I love the look of the device. Aesthetically, it's aesthetically pleasing. It's slick. I'm all for it. It's bigger. It's noticeably bigger, but it's also slim at the same time. I really dig the look of the console. And then something so small that I do want to point out that I really do like are the red game cards. Right? It's so silly. It really shouldn't matter what the game card looks like, but I do like the look of the red game cards. Nintendo let us know during that Direct that the Switch is going to be released on June 5th. Okay. And Mario Kart World is a launch game, which I feel like we all kind of thought that was, that was going to be a thing. But Mario Kart World looks awesome. It's an open world Mario Kart. That's definitely something different. Atmosphere changes with weather effects, 24 players online. I'm just really excited to play that game. I am an avid Mario Kart fan. I don't play as often Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as I used to, but I'll tell you, I love me some Mario Kart. So I'm looking forward to playing, Mario Kart World, just because I feel like they switched it up just enough. If you really think about it, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I feel like they did everything that they possibly could do. And, so many characters, so many courses, although they reused some of the courses from other games in the past. But at that point, it was kind of like, what else could they do with this series? And they seem to have found the answer. It's an open world Mario Kart game. I'm also excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's about time. I literally was just talking about how DK don't get enough love. And now here we are. Homeboy is getting a brand new game. It's a 3D Donkey Kong game, and it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It looks gorgeous. It's gonna be my type of, my type of thing for sure. I really enjoyed what I saw when it comes to the new Hyrule Warriors game, right? I believe it's called Age of Imprisonment. That looked awesome. I can't wait to play that. I enjoyed Age of Calamity, and I know a lot of people didn't, but I really had a good time with that one. Age of Imprisonment, this new one is supposed to come out in the winter, and it's supposed to like tell the story leading up to Tears of the Kingdom. Even though I stink at the Souls-like games, the Dark Souls type of games, I will say that new FromSoft game, the Duskbloods, looks amazing. That's awesome. Something brand new. I'm sure it's coming to other consoles. I don't think it said it was a Switch 2 exclusive, but that looks pretty dope. And then GameCube games are coming to the Nintendo Switch online service, which is great. They showed off Wind Waker. They showed off Soul Calibur 2. They showed off F-Zero GX. And I can't remember what the fourth one was. But I am excited for this. Finally, I can play some of these GameCube games that I definitely missed out on. Let's talk about what I hate. And hate is such a strong word, but the things that I dislike about what was shown during this direct, okay, and what came out afterwards. First up is definitely the launch titles, okay? Now, let me just say off the break, I love the fact that the Switch 2 is getting so much third-party support. I think that's awesome. Games like Elden Ring, games like Street Fighter 6, and there's supposed to be amiibo that come with that. Hogwarts Legacy, although that was a Switch game, but Split Fiction. I think having third-party support is great. We have all these ports here for people that might not have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, or even a PC, and they missed out on some games, and now they're going to be able to play it on the Switch. I think that's amazing. I think my issue is honestly with the fact that there was so much focus on these third-party games. Would have been great if we saw more like Switch 2 exclusives. I know they also did focus on Nintendo Switch 2 edition games, which is another story. But if we saw some, just original content, original games for the Switch 2 that are, I don't know, at launch or even within the launch window, if they would have focused a little bit more on that, definitely would have been happier. During this direct, Nintendo did announce Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Okay, which actually looks really cool. Like, it gives you tidbits about the new console. You can play mini games. It looks neat, but it's not a pack-in game. All right, they're gonna want us to pay for that. How much? We don't know. But the fact that we have to pay for that is wild and crazy. And I'm not trying to, look, off the break, I'm not telling y'all I'm not an entitled type of person. But I think that's wild that they're expecting us to pay for a welcome tour, okay? In, a year where, well, not even a year, but, where we have games like Astrobot coming as like a pack-in on a console, on every new console. Nintendo, pack that game into the system and give it to everybody for free. One thing that I'm extremely upset about is the battery life on the Nintendo Switch 2. Of course, they didn't touch on this during the direct, but afterwards, it was revealed that the battery life for the Switch 2, it's ranging anywhere from 2 hours to 6.5 hours. And of course, this depends on, the type of game that you're playing. More intensive like games are going to eat up your battery more. That's common sense. We all know that happens. But the fact that this battery isn't better than the battery on, even the original Switch. Okay, that's wild to me. Right now with the OLED, the battery range is like 4.5 hours to 9 hours. That's wild. What up with this battery though? And then finally, the last thing that I hate or just strongly dislike is the pricing structure. All right, the money that's going to be spent for the Switch 2 and the games is definitely something that needs to be talked about. So as I mentioned, the Switch 2 is releasing on June 5th, okay? And there are two models, first model is just the console itself, and that's retailing for $449.99. So $450, okay? And then the second model is the console, and then there's the pack-in with Mario Kart World, and that's retailing for $499.99. So $500. The price for the Switch 2 isn't something that bothers me all that much, because for a while now, people were saying that, you know, the system was probably going to be like $400. And I kind of went along with that, right? I was thinking it would be like $399. That made sense to me. So $450, okay. And then $500 for the bundle. All right. You know, I'm prepared for that. But then, plot twist, okay? And now the whole world is being tariffed. All right. And apparently China, no, I think it's Vietnam, are the ones that are doing the production on, maybe China too, but they're making the Switch 2. Okay. And I believe their tariff is like at 20 something percent, maybe 30 something percent. And that's a big difference. Okay. Because I know people don't like to, and I'm not going to get all political with this, but I know some people don't realize that if something is tariffed, we as the consumers are paying for it. So it could very much be that like the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be $600, maybe even more. Now it might be $600 off the break right now if it's costing $450 and you want to get a couple of games. I don't know, maybe you want to get a controller, whatever. But off the break for the system itself, if all of this stuff goes through with the tariffs, yeah, that console is going to be mad expensive. It's just disheartening to see. And not even with video games, because at the end of the day, all of this is bigger than video games, okay? But it's just disheartening to see everything going up in price. The same thing can be said about the games. You know, Mario Kart World retailing for $80 compared to something like Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is retailing for $70. And it seems like other Switch 2 games are going to be $69.99 as well, right? So it looks like there's going to be some type of range, you know, going on, the price range when it comes to these Switch 2 titles. And that's something personally that I'm going to have to get used to. For so long, I feel like we've been blessed with the prices for the Switch, right? Games are $59.99 still. You know, they're stuck in a couple of eras ago, right? A brand new game's $59.99. But right now, I mean, everybody knows it. PS5, you know, Xbox Series X, those games, physical games, are $69.99. They're $70. They're rising in price. And that's just, you know, gonna happen. Technology has been improved. This isn't the same technology from 8 years ago, okay? So let's be real here. The Switch has been out for 8 years. This is a new console, new games for the most part. And, you know, there's more technology involved. I just know this is something that's going to make me be more conscious of the games that I'm picking up and when I pick them up, and if I should wait longer for sales. And there's really nothing wrong with that. So yeah, things are crazy right now. You know, there's just so much uncertainty. And I'm not just talking about with video games. I'm just talking about in general. But to know that it's trickled down into a hobby that you love on top of everything else, it's nuts. All right, guys, so that's what I love and what I hate about what we know so far about the Nintendo Switch 2. Let me know what you guys love and what you hate about what we know so far about the Nintendo Switch 2. Leave it in the comment box below. As always, I want to thank all of you for watching this video, and I'll check you next time. Peace.